Woo, man. Welcome back, guys. Today I want to talk about the Safariland ALS holster and the QLS system because they kind of go hand in hand. So anybody out there that's ever worn a gun for a living probably knows who Safariland is. They have been putting out a lot of holsters, duty belts, duty gear, and all that stuff for an extremely long time. I suppose I can take this thing off. I don't really need this on anymore now, do I? Whew. All right, guys. So the Safariland ALS holsters are probably one of the most carried holsters out there in the civilian law enforcement. And I know some guys in the military carry them. Not sure which unit, but they're definitely carried widely all around the world. Now the reason for this is because they make a pretty dang good holster and they've got an active locking mechanism in there. The active locking mechanism in the Safariland is called the ALS system. So it's the auto locking system, is what the ALS stands for. Now what it does is as you holster, it basically has a portion that catches right here on the breech of the gun, locks it in. Now depending on which holster it is, if it's a light bearing holster design, some of them, like this specific one, will actually retain the gun without the light on it. It's not very tight in there, but it will retain it. So these holsters I've used for probably about 12, 13 years now. Started with an SLS, which was the old hood design. And then the ALS came out, started carrying those. Then they have like a level 3 that's the ALS, SLS. It's got all kinds of locking mechanisms. If you carry a gun for a living, for duty, it's always a good idea to carry a holster with a locking mechanism for two reasons. One, if you get in a fight, someone can try to take that, you want a locking mechanism. Two, gravity always wins. So if you're one of those guys that just carries like a no retention Kydex kind of click-in holster, and you take a hard hit, a hard spill or something, or you get in that combative scenario up close, gravity is going to win. At some point that gun's either gonna be pulled out or fall out, or just get caught on something and get ripped out. I have personally seen how bad that can end, and I have also seen having a locking mechanism can keep this gun from coming out at the wrong time, wrong place, or being pulled out by the wrong person in a hand-to-hand combat scenario. There are multiple different designs of this holster, and they do work really well with the Safariland QLS fork system. Now what that does, as you can see right here on my blue alpha belt, is it allows you to change holsters very, very rapidly and get on to shooting with the next gun. Locks in, you're good to go. Same style holster, same style draw stroke. You don't have to change mechanisms or remember a different mechanism. Works really, really well. We're gonna get into these up close. I'll show you guys kind of some of the different designs that they have in the ALS market. And then I've bought a ton of these over the years with my own money, so you obviously know that I would buy another one. But there are some issues that can arise with these holsters that I will get into up close. So let's check this thing out, get into it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on, would I buy more of these in the future? Well, that's just a table full of badass stuff right there, isn't it? These ALS holsters, guys, are probably one of the most carried holsters in law enforcement, military, and even personal use out there today because they are very high quality and they do provide you an effective level of retention via their automatic locking system, which is this portion right down in here. It's manipulated by this tab that comes up and it locks onto your slide. So as you holster this gun and put it in here, you'll see that tab actually move when it locks in. Do that again a little slower. You can see it. Now what that's doing is it's actually locking on this portion of the slide right there, and it's keeping that gun in there. If you're in a duty use capacity, I would never say carry a no retention holster or a holster that's only like, you know, pressure fit. You're gonna want something that's got a locking mechanism, whether it's the ALS or the SLS or whatever other ones out there on the market. Now this specific version of the ALS holster right here, I'll get you a model number on this. The 739832 will take pretty much anything from a 19 to a 34 and everything in between, even with a light. So the Glock 34, even with suppressor height sights, locks in and is sturdy even without the light on it. The 19, same thing, locks in there. You got a little bit more movement, but still locks in there unless you manipulate that thumb trigger on it. And then obviously the way it was meant to be carried, with a light, very, very tight, a little bit less movement than the 19, but this was built for the 17. It just happens to take up to the 34, like I said. So great holster if you run multiple weapon systems with a light or even without it. I wouldn't recommend carrying it a lot without the light because it could loosen up over time in here and cause the gun to be loose in there, but it does work. This is your more traditional style issued law enforcement ALS holster, and this specific one is the 6390-832, and this is for the 17 and the 22. I believe it will carry both of those, and then several versions in between. So the difference is 6390-832 on this one, and then this one that carries a bunch of them is 7390, and that's 832 for the last designators. So this one is a little bit tighter than this one, and it locks in just as good, but it is very, very tight in there. And you do have some adjustment on your tension right here. And then across the top as well, you have some retention right there for your actual ALS right there. Again, you can see nice positive lock-in, and this holster will fit the 19 as well. Not nearly as good as this one, but it will work. I would not recommend carrying a 19 in that holster. And then it just doesn't like the 34 at all, probably because of the suppressor height sights. In all, both of these holsters are great. I have carried them both with issued weapons, with multiple different Glocks, with and without a light. Like I said, you can get away carrying in them without a light, and they will retain the gun, but eventually they are going to wear loose in there if you carry them too much without the light, because that light is what keeps the gun forward in place as well. It's not meant to be carried without the light, although it does work. So great holsters, very high quality. The one thing that you do need to pay attention to is you will wear this mechanism down over time. So as time goes on, holstering, reholstering, pulling this thing out fast and catching it here and catching it on the front and catching it on the sights, you are going to wear that locking mechanism in there, and you're going to need a new holster. It does take thousands of holstering and unholstering to do that, but it's going to happen over time. Just be prepared for that. You will buy a new one eventually. So let's get back up into the chair. I'll give you my final thoughts on these ALS style Safariland holsters. Overall, great holsters, guys, especially for the duty use person. Having the ability to lock a holster in and being able to carry the same style holster with the same locking mechanism across multiple platforms. Like I said, if you get this specific model, you can carry everything from a 19 to a 34, and that's just really awesome. I've never really had a product issue with Safariland. Over time though, you will begin to wear on that ALS system. And then depending on which version you got, either a solid system like this or the adjustable version like this, you will need to adjust tension on these over time. And then eventually the holster is just going to live its lifetime out. You're gonna holster and unholster so many times that you're gonna wear on these portions of plastic in there, Kydex in there that retain your firearm, and you're going to need to get a new one. I'd carried one with a 1911 so long, which puts a little bit more wear on these holsters in my opinion, that it was so loose, and no matter how much I tightened it, as long as I twisted the gun, I could yank it right out. And it had just lived its lifespan. These things are not gonna last forever, but I wanna say 7 years of hard use out of that holster, thousands and thousands of rounds, thousands and thousands of draw strokes in it. And it worked. It was a beast, it was a tank. It lived its life, it served its purpose. So links for all this stuff, guys, will be down below. If you're not on one of the Freedom channels, check that first link in the description. It'll take you to a site where everything is listed. Like, share, subscribe. Check out some of their content on the channel. Stay safe, stay ready, get that range time in, and carry a safe holster, guys. If you're working, don't carry a zero retention holster. It's not a good idea. See you on the next one.